Okay, so we were told that last week there's a bit of an error with the metal detectors, that they were not working on the train. I didn't get the full story, so I don't know if they were beeping too much or too less, but both are options with the metal detectors. So we're going to try to explain how these work a little bit better, so when you guys actually have to do it in your classrooms, that everything kind of goes a bit more smoothly. So this is the final product of the metal detector. It comes in pretty much two pieces. This is the metal detector itself. This is just the remote controlled kit piece that they're going to drive around. It's got two options on the thing. You can go forwards with it, or you can go backwards with it. That just pertains to the up and down arrows. So everything else you need to know about this should be, this exact piece should be in the instructions, the assembly and everything, so I'm not going to get into that. Next is the metal detector piece itself. There's two things on it you need to know. This button, when that's pressed down, that's how you can actually find metal. So that'll beep, as well as the thing will, the LED will flash when it detects metal. But to make sure that accurately works, you need to play with this. If you have it turned all the way up and have the button down, I'm not even near any metal, and it's just going to keep going the whole time. So you need to scale it down so that it stops beeping permanently. Then hope that it starts working with the metal. Sometimes you're going to have it too low, sometimes you'll have it too high, and anytime it gets close to any metal, it's going to start beeping like crazy. So this is going to come down to some experimentation when you get with every kid's robot. When you assemble it to this, one thing that you need to make sure that happens so that it works is when you slide it down to this groove, the button is going to get squished in between this plastic piece, which is going to make sure that the button is constantly pressed down so that it's on. Like even right now, it's not fully holding it. And so you need to kind of get it in there like that. So make sure this is pointing out, and that should hold the button in. Now we're going to talk about setting up with the train and the metal detector. So when you set it up, you're going to notice there's all these tiny little squares on the terrain. So we'll quick take those out so you can take a look inside all of this. When you set this up for the game, if you're doing it just to let them experiment, you can put metal in every single hole. If you just want it so that it can be a game and they have to hunt it as groups, you're going to want to make sure like some of the metals have been taken out and are hidden, and they have to figure out which ones do have the metal in. But if these aren't working, who knows how that game is going to end up. When you get the robots to work, so we're going to use this one which has the screws in it. Since these only go back and forth, it gets kind of complicated, so the kids are going to have to use their hands a little bit in the game. And then you're going to want to try and practice with these things to make sure that they're all picking up the robot. So there's two metal pieces in there, and the button is pressed, so it should work. But see, like that, it didn't, because these things kind of need to be tweaked a little bit. Here, I'm actually going to turn it so you guys can see the LED. See? There, it's picking it up. That means it is finding it, and also the wheels kind of suck on this terrain. So it's going to take a bit of finagling. You're going to have to work with it in the kids, but they're going to have to keep an eye on the LEDs, because only to give that single beep. Sometimes it's going to beep like crazy when it goes over metal, sometimes you get a single beep. That's going to come down to the sensitivity. So to make sure this works for the kid, you're going to explain that to the kids, that they know that the sensitivity is going to be set correctly so they can find it, that they might only get a single beep, that they need to be paying close attention to it, and if they want to try different ones, you're going to have to move it around the train and then go forwards and back, and then go ridiculously slow and get stuck on the train. So it's going to take a lot of experimentation, but as long as you have the sensitivity dialed correctly, make sure the button is pressed down between this plastic piece, everything else should go correct. And that's all I have.